What if the real reason you can't stop overthinking isn't because you're smart, but because somewhere along the way you became terrified of being wrong? Not just wrong about the big choices, career, love, life, but wrong about the tiniest, most ridiculous things, like sending a text, choosing between two shades of toothpaste, wondering if you should have said thanks instead of thank you. That hum in your mind, that endless murmur of what if not, that's not brilliance sharpening its blade. It's fear. Fear dressed in a graduation gown, clutching a fake diploma stamped certified overthinking genius, as if spiraling was a skill you should be proud of. We live in a world where choosing breakfast feels like filling out a tax form, where every text, every pause, every emoji feels like it's being dissected under a microscope you didn't ask for. And the cruelest twist, the more you crave certainty, the faster your mind turns into a hamster in a wheel, sprinting, sweating, chasing that perfect answer that doesn't even exist. That hamster, it's not a genius. It's just terrified, convinced that if it ever stops running, your whole life will collapse into itself like a dying star. But what if the solution isn't silence? What if it's not positive thinking or bullet journaling your way out of the spiral? What if the answer is something older, something sharper, something almost offensive to the mind that's been running the show all these years? If you stay with me till the end, you'll discover a philosophy so unexpected it might finally crack open the cage you didn't even know you were trapped in. Because before you can escape the wheel, you need to understand the trap. Who built it, who benefits from it, and why everything you've tried to break free, every checklist, every productivity hack, every pep talk in the mirror, only made it spin faster. So let's rewind, not just to the start of your overthinking, but to the moment fear slipped into the driver's seat. Let's figure out how a scared little hamster ended up in charge of your mind. You weren't born stuck inside your own head. There was a time, not that long ago, when your mind wasn't a hostile courtroom, but a playground. You didn't calculate the risk-reward ratio of sliding down the biggest slide at the park. You just slid, arms in the air, mouth wide open, sometimes face first into gravel, and you were fine. But somewhere between your first wrong answer in front of the class and the 100th time, an adult asked, "Are you really sure about that?" Something shifted. You learned the big lie that the world rewards certainty and punishes mistakes. Suddenly, every choice felt like a test, and you, terrified of disappointing anyone, enrolled yourself in the University of Overthinking, determined to graduate magna cum laude in risk management. Welcome to modern life, a paradise for overthinkers, where every decision, from which protein powder to buy to how to sign off an email, feels like it has the potential to define your entire existence. Barry Schwartz, the psychologist who coined the term paradox of choice, showed how the more options we have, the less capable we are of choosing. The world taught you that if you pick wrong job, wrong partner, wrong breakfast cereal, your life would unravel. So you trained your mind to scan for threats in every thought, convinced that certainty equals safety. Except certainty doesn't exist. What exists is noise, a constant hum of options, opinions, and outcomes you can't possibly predict. And your mind, doing its best to protect you, tries to process it all. Every text left unread, every silence in a conversation, every future that might happen if you say yes or no or nothing. Your brain, this beautiful paranoid survival machine, is just trying to help. But instead of spotting lions in the tall grass, it now sees danger in your own thoughts. As the poet Theodore Roethke put it, a mind too active is no mind at all. The tragedy is that the harder you chase certainty, the faster it slips away, like trying to hold water in your hands. You're not overthinking because you're broken. You're overthinking because the world taught you to fear being wrong. But what if there was a philosophy that didn't just tolerate doubt, but celebrated it? What if uncertainty wasn't the enemy, but the whole point? Because it turns out there was one thinker who understood your mind better than any life coach ever could, and his answer was as shocking as it was freeing. But before we meet him, let's break down all the fake solutions you've been sold and why they've only made your mind louder. Meditation, they said, focus on your breath. Watch your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. It sounds peaceful, unless you're an overthinker. Then it feels like being locked in a room with the very thoughts you were trying to escape, now louder, dressed in neon, demanding your attention. For overthinkers, meditation often turns into a hostage negotiation with your own mind, where every silence invites another what if to creep in. Now, meditation itself isn't the enemy. For some, it's a gift. If your mind flows like a gentle stream, it works. But if your mind's more like a hamster on Red Bull, sitting still just gives the furry little maniac time to build an entire conspiracy board, complete with red string connecting every embarrassing thing you've ever said to the worst-case scenario you just invented. And when that doesn't work, they offer you the next shiny fix: positive affirmations. Positive affirmations? Sure, tell yourself I am calm and confident while your brain is screaming, did you leave the stove on? Did you offend Claire? Are you wasting your life? Good luck with that. The truth is, your mind doesn't believe slogans, it believes patterns. And if the pattern is, every thought is a potential threat, no amount of I am safe is going to overwrite that wiring. There's even a name for why these tricks backfire: thought suppression rebound. Back in 1987, psychologist Daniel Wegner ran the now famous white bear experiment, where participants were told to avoid thinking about a white bear. Predictably, the bear took up permanent residence in their minds. The harder they tried to avoid it, the louder it knocked. The same thing happens every time you try to stop overthinking by sheer force. You're teaching your brain that thoughts are dangerous, so it watches them even more closely. Even cognitive reframing, the art of replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, can become its own trap. You're still treating your mind like a malfunctioning machine that needs constant manual adjustment. Every unwanted thought triggers a frantic repair job, where your whole identity depends on finding the right way to think. It's exhausting, and worse, it's useless. Because the problem isn't your thoughts. The problem is this insane expectation that you should only have good ones, that your mind should be a curated gallery of inspiring quotes and calm reflections, instead of what it really is: a messy, feral, utterly human storm of doubt, desire, curiosity, and fear. You don't need fewer thoughts. You need to make peace with having all of them. It's not your mind's job to be quiet. It's your job to stop treating every thought like it's a ticking bomb. So if fighting your thoughts doesn't work, and silencing them doesn't work, what does? That's where a certain philosopher comes in. A man who stood face to face with life's absurd, uncontrollable chaos, and instead of fighting it, he laughed. All right, no point dragging out the suspense any longer. The man who's going to save us today is Albert Camus. And if you've ever felt like you were losing your mind trying to figure out the right way to live, he's the philosopher you didn't know you were waiting for. Camus didn't write self-help books. He didn't preach inner peace or offer 10 steps to happiness. He did something far more dangerous. He stared straight into the void, into a world that flat out refuses to make sense, and he made it his home. At the heart of Camus' philosophy is a brutal truth. The human mind craves order, meaning, certainty. But the universe, it offers none of those things. We want life to be a puzzle with a solution. Life shrugs. We want decisions to have correct answers. Life doesn't care. This is what Camus called the absurd, the unresolvable clash between your mind's need for meaning and the world's total indifference. Most people can't handle the absurd. They either cling to illusions, ideological dogma, the comforting belief that there's a master plan if they just think hard enough, or they collapse into nihilism, believing if life has no inherent meaning, then nothing matters. Camus rejected both. He chose revolt, a life lived fully, precisely because it has no guaranteed meaning. This is where Camus becomes the accidental patron saint of overthinkers. Overthinking at its core is your mind's desperate attempt to find the right way to exist, the right career, the right partner, the right version of yourself. Camus's answer is radical. There is no right way. There is only the way you choose to live, moment by moment, in full awareness that none of it comes with a cosmic stamp of approval. Camus didn't fear doubt. He embraced it. He didn't panic in the face of uncertainty. He made it his playground. Life, for Camus, was a stage where meaning isn't discovered, it's created. One absurd, defiant act at a time, and the minute you stop demanding that your thoughts lead you to some ultimate truth, they lose their grip on you. They become what they've always been, fleeting guests in the house of your mind. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world, Camus wrote. But that silence isn't the enemy, it's freedom. Because if life has no built-in meaning, you are free, terrifyingly beautifully free, to create your own, to overthink or underthink, to act without perfect knowledge, to live without permission. Overthinking isn't a sign that something's wrong with you, it's a symptom of expecting life to make sense. Camus's gift is the reminder that it doesn't have to. The thoughts will come, loud, messy, contradictory. Let them. You don't need to answer every question your mind asks. You are not on trial. There is no jury. There's just you, standing on a floating rock, writing your own script. Which brings us to the only question that matters. How do you actually live like this? How do you apply Camus' absurd freedom in a world that still wants you to have a 5-year plan? That's where we go next. The next time an intrusive thought barges into your mind, what if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I ruin everything? What if I'm just fundamentally broken? Don't fight it. Don't shove it into some imaginary mental jail cell or plaster over it with forced optimism. Do something far more radical. Invite it in. Pour it a drink, give it a seat at the table, and then watch it for what it really is. Not a threat, not a prophecy, just a thought, a puff of smoke in the vast, absurd theater of your mind. This is the core of Camus's gift to overthinkers. He's not offering you silence or certainty or control. He's offering you a truce, the chance to coexist with your own chaos, without making it mean something bigger than it is. You don't have to fix every thought. You don't have to follow every mental breadcrumb to some mythical final answer. You can simply let your thoughts exist, the way you let the weather exist. Messy, unpredictable, beyond your control, and rarely worth obsessing over. This is what Camus called revolt, the quiet, defiant act of living fully in the face of a meaningless universe. Not waiting for certainty, not demanding perfect clarity before you act. Just choosing and choosing again, even when doubt is breathing down your neck. There's no right choice, no cosmic checklist, no hidden scorecard. Life isn't a test you're meant to pass. It's a stage you're meant to play on, knowing the script was lost long before you arrived. When your mind whispers, "What if I screw this up?" you answer, "Of course I might." Life is absurd. When doubt says, "What if this isn't the right path?" you reply, "There is no right path, only the one I walk." When your overthinking tries to freeze you in place, you move anyway. Not because you're certain, but because you're free. That is the heart of Camus's philosophy and the ultimate antidote to overthinking. You don't need to find the right answer. You need to make peace with not knowing. The world will keep demanding that you have a plan, a strategy, a purpose that fits neatly into a LinkedIn bio. Let it. You're not here to impress the world with your clarity. You're here to rebel against the need for clarity itself, to laugh at the absurdity of a universe that gives you no guarantees, and to live anyway. That's not just the cure for overthinking. That's freedom. The thoughts will come, let them, but you walk forward, because you were never here to get it all right. You were here to live. So what do you take away from all this? After all the noise, the doubts, the fake solutions, the endless search for the perfect answer, what's left when you strip it all down to the bone? There's no cure for overthinking, not in the way you've been promised, no secret switch, no 5-step mindset hack, no perfect meditation technique that erases every doubt. Because overthinking isn't a bug, it's the natural side effect of a mind designed to keep you alive, dropped into a world with too many choices, too much noise, and no guarantees. Your thoughts aren't the enemy. The hamster isn't your villain. It's just been running scared for so long it forgot how to do anything else. It thinks spinning the wheel is what keeps your life from falling apart. Camus doesn't offer you silence. He offers you something far more uncomfortable and far more freeing. Permission to not know, permission to move forward without answers, to walk into uncertainty like a fool, unarmed and unafraid, because there's nothing to protect yourself from. There's no invisible referee grading your every move, no hidden panel of judges waiting to declare you a success or a failure, no secret path marked correct. There's just you on this spinning rock, dancing with your own thoughts, messy and wild and contradictory, and somehow still standing. The cure for overthinking isn't fixing your mind. It's stopping this ridiculous belief that you owe the world a perfect explanation for why you exist. You don't. There is no correct way to live this life. There's only the way you choose to live it, one absurd, uncertain, beautiful step at a time. So when the thoughts come, and they will, don't fight them. Let them follow you. Let them shout. Let them whisper. Let the hamster run its circles if it needs to, and then walk forward anyway. Not because you found the right answer, but because you finally realized you don't need one. In a world with no guarantees, the freest person isn't the one with the perfect plan. It's the one who finally stops waiting for one. That's how you step off the wheel. That's how you stop living in your head and start showing up where life actually happens. Here, now, doubts and all. If this hit you where you needed it, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a like. Share it with that one friend who overthinks every text, every outfit, every decision. And if you're into philosophy that doesn't just sit on a shelf, but punches you right in the soul, hit subscribe. Around here, we don't just talk about ideas. We walk with them straight into the absurd. See you soon, your old pal.